Hello and welcome to Cyberside Chats. My name is Sherri Davidoff. I'm the founder of LMG Security.
And my name is Matt Durrin. I'm the Director of Training and Research for LMG Security.
And today we're going to talk about some of the fallout of the recent government shutdown. And it's not just related to the shutdown. This is really about the expiration of the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act of 2015, which has had a major impact on the United States information sharing capabilities and really improved our cybersecurity system-wide.
Yeah, no, this comes down to potentially a massive loss of sharing of information between government and private sector when it comes to cybersecurity indicators. So this could have a big impact.
I'm sure it's already having a big impact because here we are and it's October.
Right.
And this expired on September 30th. And so the spigot of information has turned off at a terrible, terrible time.
Right. Right before Cybersecurity Awareness Month, I would also point out, but yeah.
So yeah, that is ironic.
It is, yeah.
So let's dig in a little bit. First of all, it's a little unfortunate that the acronym for the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act is CISA, not to be confused with CISA, the Cybersecurity Infrastructure and Security Agency.
Yeah.
Different things.
Different things.
But this was an act that was created in 2015 to make it safe for organizations to share information with the government and vice versa.
Right.
And that's really important because if a hacker is breaking into a hospital or a bank or some other organization and they're targeting other companies, which they do, you want to be able to warn people. You want to be able to tell them what to look for. You want to be able to give them indicators of compromise, talk about what the adversary is doing, things that worked, things that didn't work. We are all stronger together.
Well, no, of course, and we actually just got off a call like 2 days ago with CISA themselves, where they were going over the indicators of compromise for Cisco ASA devices being compromised. And this is the exact kind of information sharing system that we rely on to, I guess, understand when those attacks are happening.
Yeah, so CISA will notify organizations often all around your state or your region, and will pull them into a call and tell them what they're seeing and tell the InfoSec professionals what to look for. And of course, all that information doesn't come out of nowhere. It's not like CISA, the organization, has all these Cisco devices themselves and they're checking to see how they get hacked. No, they're getting reports from the real world.
Yeah, no, they're getting reports, or they were anyway. Yeah, they were getting it from the manufacturer, from people who have been impacted by this. I mean, it was again, a very impactful kind of system.
Yes. So let's talk about what exactly the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act did and how things are going to change now that it has expired. So prior to the Cybersecurity and Information Sharing Act of 2015, organizations had a lot of risk when it came to sharing information with the government or even each other. So first of all, there's the risk of indication. If you share CTIs is what they call it, cyber threat indicators, and there's like sensitive personal information in there by accident. So let's say, again, a criminal has hacked into your organization. You're sharing information about what systems they hacked into or how they hacked into it, and somehow buried in a log, there might be somebody's
username,
name,
a password,
something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
It makes it so you're not liable. There's less risk of getting sued, lawsuits.
Yeah.
Whether it's a privacy lawsuit or some other kind of lawsuit.
Well, and that was the big problem when this system originally came out. There were questions among the private industry about like what kind of information would be shared with other organizations. So if you shared your heap dump from your router or something like that, do other people get direct access to that? Can they see your IP scheme? Can they see your usernames? Can they potentially see user information?
Or a link to a website, like a data breach leak website that has hosted private information. Could you be liable for spreading that? So this removed that liability. This made it safe for organizations to share.
It did, yeah.
And it made it safe for the government to share with organizations. The one I think is most interesting, honestly, is the antitrust exposure. Because if organizations, especially ones of the same type, are sharing indicators of compromise or threat intelligence with each other, that could look like collusion.
It could, yeah.
And that's especially unfortunate because, honestly, I think there is nothing more helpful than talking to your industry peers.
Well, I mean, that's why we have like the ISAC groups.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what that is. It's information sharing. Although those are a lot more informal, and I mean, it's more of us like having a conversation rather than putting something into, understandably, a somewhat sketchy government database that a lot of people had a problem with. But like, no.
Well, okay. I know when I worked at the Children's Hospital Boston, hospitals are constantly under attack. And criminals definitely target them. Like, think of all these ransomware actors who think to themselves, aha, a hospital, they require 24/7 uptime, lots of sensitive information. What a perfect target, wahaha, for ransomware. And so, and also hospitals, again, just to use them as an example, often rely on the same vendor products, Epic, Cerner, you name it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so if there are threat actors that are targeting hospitals and healthcare, often by sharing information with peers, they can get real actionable information about what they're targeting, what their tactics are, and how to deal with it.
Well, they could realize that there's like a specific version of Epic, as an example, that is potentially vulnerable. Or, exactly.
James,
Yeah.
Yes.
You owe me a Coke.
I think that, damn it. I think that antitrust exposure is really critical.
I know that was huge when it came to the, I guess just again, the sharing factor of this.
Yeah, and now we're back there. And not only those things, there's the regulatory penalties, there's the risk of loss of privilege because sharing could waive attorney-client privilege if you're not careful. The threat intelligence could be made public under the FOIA Act.
Right, yeah.
So all of these things create risk to sharing and have a chilling effect. And in fact, in the years since then, we now have, what is it called? The Automated Indicator Sharing System.
Yes, the AIS system. So this is kind of like the primary mechanism that is used to distribute what we see as like common indicators of compromise for a potential network or something like that.
In
machine-readable format.
So basically, there's companies that have threat intelligence, and some of them are probably tech vendors, that are directly connecting to a government system, uploading millions of threat indicators, and other people can log in and get access to that pool of shared data.
Right, and the big thing about this for me, anyway, what I found really like valuable about it anyway, it was two-way. So it was the government sharing with private industry, it was private industry sharing with the government. We had this, database of information that we could tap into to stop these common attacks from happening.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know that pool of data increased dramatically between 2023 and 2024, in part because of one specific provider, and we don't know who, but one organization started contributing massive amounts of data.
Right.
And the top thing I'm wondering right now is, has that spigot turned off?
That's a good question, and that mass indicator that we were seeing, I mean, we can probably take a guess as to who it was, but
It could be Microsoft. It could be Google. It's probably some major provider.
It's some major provider.
We're speculating
but
here.
it's somebody who sees a lot of this information.
Yes.
And the fact that was all being piped into that system was really beneficial because we could now see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you're right. It is the private sector can share information with the government can share information back with the private sector.
Yep.
And if you look at the diagram of AIS, it was sanitized, it was scrubbed.
Oh,
but
sure,
a lot of the legal risk is taken out as a result.
Right, yeah. And there's a whole diagram on CISA's website about how they went through, like, basically making that data safe for public consumption.
Yes.
Which was a very important thing because, again, we don't want to, I wouldn't want to upload information if my company was hacked, if my company was then going to be implicated in that hack because the data was sitting there.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, it's likely that there will be a major chilling effect because there is so much more risk now for organizations to contribute to these systems.
Right. Well, and I mean, we've already seen a downward slope of who is actually contributing
the
information
number of
at
people,
this point.
even though the amount of information has gone up, you're right, the number of participants
The number of participants has gone down. In 2020, we had over 250 different organizations that were contributing to this data.
Right.
Now we're down to about 87. And I think the worry about the liability and risk has a lot to do with that.
Sure.
I mean, there are organizations that just simply do not want to publicize or make it potentially public that their organization was hit by submitting these IOCs, and that's a problem for all of us at that point.
But I mean, again, we have seen a lot of maturation. I know one of the reasons why this wasn't renewed right away was because of the cost. Is that right?
Yeah, the cost behind it. So the estimate is that it cost about $1 million a day to run this.
A month.
Yeah, sorry, $1 million a month, not day.
AIS.
Sorry, yeah, misspoke on that one. My bad. But no, $1 million a month to run this program, and the question then comes into, I guess, is there enough benefit behind this program that we can justify that level of cost to run the system?
I mean, I have to say, I guess we haven't really talked about our client that. Okay, so we actually had a real example of the benefits of information sharing this month. We have a client that got notified by Varonis, which was their security endpoint security provider, and Varonis let them know that there was malware on their systems.
Right.
They investigated. They didn't really find very much.
They didn't really find much, and it turned out this was a fairly bespoke piece of malware. But they then got a notification from CISA.
CISA, and they talked to
Yeah.
CISA on the phone. CISA followed up and was like, "Hey guys,
Yeah.
this
here's
is
the
serious.
here's the host name of the computer.
You need to
Yeah.
investigate." And they did, and
And they found
found ransomware. They found
Yeah.
the precursor to a ransomware
They
attack.
they found the preloader for Interlock ransomware at that point in time,
Yes.
which is like they're a huge group right now, and so that was really, beneficial to them that they were able to identify this ahead of time.
I mean, if CISA hadn't called them, what do you think would have happened?
Oh, the same thing that's happened to other clients that we've had who have received similar notifications but did not either by
Act on it,
act
or
on it, or
escalated.
it wasn't a thing for them. No, they probably would have been hit by ransomware. I mean,
Yeah.
they were in the early stages of that attack and they caught it early.
Yeah.
That was the big thing. They caught it right before they got any like actual big admin accounts or anything like that. They saw Kali Linux activity on the network. Like it was.
I was so grateful that CISA called them. And I remember we were like, how did CISA know? And I was like, well, I bet that, and I don't know for sure, but I bet this particular endpoint security provider may have a relationship with the government, may provide those indicators of compromise, and so therefore that circle gets connected and CISA is able to reach out and say, hey, no, you really need to act.
Exactly.
And we've seen this in other contexts as well, where that information sharing comes back around and actually makes our systems more secure, actually prevents ransomware attacks from happening.
I mean, when we think about it, I mean, the security community is a community. Like, if we're not communicating with each other and we don't have that venue to actually, communicate these specific indicators, or if we're scared to do it, then that means we're all kind of on an island at that point.
Yeah.
And that is not a good place for us to be. We need that collaborative effort to make sure that we all stay secure.
I mean, I wouldn't mind being on an island for a little while. It's been a busy fall.
Yeah, that's true.
But no, you're right. I mean, we all need to be smarter and to work together. So that's just one, like, it just really hit me. I was like, I think that our really important client who does a lot of good for the public, I think they would have been down with a ransomware attack if it wasn't for this public-private information sharing capability.
Yeah, and for again, not like to belabor the point, but like that was one of the more notorious ransomware groups that they were looking at right there. Very talented, very good at what they do, and really impactful when they hit a network.
Yeah, a lot of organizations, even if you don't know you benefit from it, you may benefit invisibly.
Exactly.
So, okay, if you're not directly using these services or benefiting by getting phone calls from CISA,
right.
But number one, you could, because again, CISA and the FBI and other organizations do a lot to educate the public and track trends and things like that. But also, we have seen so many cloud-related incidents, third-party related incidents. I mean, your infrastructure depends on the cloud. It depends on third parties. Mm-hmm. And even if you may not be receiving notifications from CISA, from our federal government, the vendors you rely on absolutely are. And I guarantee you, the more complex, the more sophisticated, the bigger they are, the closer their relationship is with law enforcement and government agencies.
Well, and it should be that way too. Well, I mean, think back to like the Log4j incidents that we dealt with. We had a client who for 2 weeks did not know they were vulnerable until they got a notification from their vendor. And if there had been a better information like sharing system at that point, they may not have suffered the same fate that they did, which was actually a network compromise.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we know that the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act has already expired. Already, we are probably seeing a major chilling effect and dramatically less information right now.
If it does come back, it will come back in a different form.
I know.
We'll see.
So, honestly, that scares me. That's going to keep me up at night. Mm-hmm. What are the impacts going to be?
Well, I mean, there's a few things that are big in terms of risk. One of them is operational risk. So when we look at the ability to, I guess, defend ourselves against cyber attacks, if we can't do that effectively or we can't do that in a timely manner, then we end up in a huge position of risk at that point. Like
the vendors you rely on are going to get way fewer notifications from CISA and other government agents because we're just not going to be seeing these trends.
Yeah, there's no visibility at that point.
No.
Yeah.
And then immediately, all organizations that could potentially share information are at increased legal risk. There's less trust in the ecosystem.
That one scares me. Yeah.
And there's this like hidden reliance on this information sharing that we don't even recognize.
Well,
that's going to impact us.
Think about it. Like if you have a Palo Alto firewall and you have a Palo generated set of IOCs that you're looking at, I mean, where does that information actually come from? Because it's not all from Palo. It's from the information they get from services like this. That is what helps keep us safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, one of the big trends this year is that we need to be working ourselves to build our ties.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our key takeaways. This important program is already down, or it's in the process.
So this links into, we did a podcast a little while ago about cuts to the federal government and to CISA and to other organizations that were kind of really impactful in this exact kind of system. And so it means that when we are looking at our intelligence pipeline, we really need to strengthen that. So it's not just the government that we can rely on, it's other vendors, it's the ISAC groups, it is the local security groups that we're dealing with. It's vendors.
Reach out to your local InfoSec community and your peer partners. Like all of us need to take personal responsibility now and say, hey, I'm going to reach out to my friend who's head of security at this other company, or I'm going to reach out to my local InfoSec group and let's start exchanging information.
Yeah, there's a huge benefit to that.
Yeah. Review your liability exposure. If you do share information or if you think you might need to, it's a good idea to consult counsel before you share that, or at least have those conversations ahead of time and say, do I have to worry about any risk? Plan for reduced visibility.
That's a big one,
right?
yeah. I mean, we're going to see less information at this point, so... And I mean, not necessarily less information, but if we're not looking in the right places, we don't find it. That's the big problem. So plan ahead for that. Make sure that you are, as we said with point one, expanding where you're going to look for your security tips at that point, and make sure that you are, doing your due diligence on the back end to protect your network, because it's hard to do.
Well, every time there's like a new zero-day vulnerability or a major issue in security, we are used to now seeing like, hey, here's indicators of compromise. The government is putting this out.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're going to see such as good threat intel anymore. So I think, when you do tabletop exercises and when you're planning your incident response, make sure you're simulating loss of that upstream intelligence and figuring out other sources.
Oh, yeah, that's huge. And finally, I mean, be proactive about how you share information. That is a huge thing. I know that none of us like to, potentially expose ourselves publicly if we have suffered a cybersecurity incident, but the indicators of compromise and the indicators of attack that you see on your network, if something does happen, can help another organization not suffer that same fate. And it's really important that we get that out there.
If you can, consider sharing and contributing, not just collecting information.
Right.
I know that's harder to do now that the risks have changed, but I think whatever we can do to keep the information flowing is really not slowing. Flowing. It's flowing. We need it to flow. I think that's really important.
No, I totally agree.
All right. Well, thanks so much for tuning in to Cyberside Chats. Great to see you all. Please like and subscribe and tune in next week for our next episode.